Ooh, lifelong learning. What is it? And how is it going to help you? Let's find out. Hi, my name is L Conroy. Welcome to Happy Stuff and Fluff, a channel for women over 50 who are getting happy and growing younger. So why the phrase lifelong learning? Well, I don't think it sounds very sexy, to be honest with you. And it is. That's the sad thing about it. Maybe we should call it lifelong mastery or, something really exciting. Anyway, let's talk about it because I'm very keen on lifelong learning. I talked about it 4 years ago when I wrote Stitch Your Own Silver Linings, and so now I want to start a series on Happy Stuff and Fluff about it. So if you have any ideas of what we can call it other than lifelong learning, I'd be delighted to hear it. What does it mean? Well, it's just education and learning. It's ongoing, voluntary, self-motivated pursuit of knowledge. And it's also the recognition that learning does not stop once you've finished school, whether that's school, college or university. In fact, it takes place every day and can take place every day throughout our lives. So that's the general meaning of it. Lifelong learning. Now, educational learning is not just about professional development, although obviously these days things are moving so fast that if you want to stay ahead of the game or keep up in any industry, then professional development is very important. For us, in actual fact, in terms of happiness and well-being, lifelong learning is essential. So let me just tell you, before I go on quickly, why I'm talking about this. I'll show some of the benefits here, because numerous studies show that the benefits of lifelong learning includes it broadens horizons. This is for us women over 50. It broadens our horizons. It makes you a more interesting person. You have more things to talk about in your repertoire, I suppose. That's a simple benefit. Taking a class increases your social network and gives you a sense of belonging, which of course we know is important to our happiness and well-being. It increases confidence. It widens your resources. It increases purpose and meaning, and it promotes optimism and resilience. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I used to hear that said a lot when I was younger. Thankfully, we don't hear it said anymore, because we know that, yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks. The saying came about that because up until relatively recently, we thought that the brain completed its development around about our mid-30s. And now, thanks to neuroscience, we know that that's not the case at all, and that in fact your brain continues to grow and change as we get older. I mean, all the way, it continues to rewire and create new neural circuits at any age. So just have a look at this. This system is called neuroplasticity. So if you keep hearing that term and wonder what it is, that's what it is. It's this idea that the brain continues to create new neural pathways in the brain is neuroplasticity, and it's fired into action through new learning and new experiences. Neurons that fire together wire together. They hardwire together to create things like your new learning and habits and so on, and helps to grow and change the brain. The more learning you do, the more connections are made in your brain. So it's a little bit like, this is why I've shown a tree with empty branches, because this is what it's like in your brain. So if you look at these branches, let's pretend they're all The pathways and the connections that are being made into your brain, the thicker branches that you can see, are the ones that are more hardwired. So, for example, if you spent 5 years learning art and design history, then that thick branch would be that very strong connection of learning that you have because you've learned about art and design history. So the saying goes that London taxi drivers who have to go through what they call the knowledge, actually I'm not sure if they do anymore, but they had to go through what they called was the knowledge and learn all the routes and indirect, direct routes, little side streets and so on in the whole of London before they could become a London taxi driver. Their brains are wired differently because of that. A different area of the brain is lit up and strengthened because of that particular learning. So you can see, and then other things that you might do not quite so much learning of, shall we say, then those are the smaller branches that you can see. But you could choose to increase that particular neural pathway by taking a class or doing something. And this happens all the way through life. So as I say, the more learning you do, the more connections are made in your brain. Now, a lot of these connections may be redundant, but they still add to the richness and plasticity of your brain. So if for any reason somewhere down the line you lose some of those connections, there are other connections that you have in reserve. So listen to this, because this is, I think, one of the most important things. The more new learning or education you have, the less likely you are to experience loss of mental functions or experience cognitive decline. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The more new learning or education you have, the less likely you are to experience the loss of mental function or experience cognitive decline. Cognitive decline is a key factor in dementia. And of course, dementia is an umbrella term that includes, amongst other things, Alzheimer's. Okay, now obviously there are clearly multiple factors involved in cognitive decline, and I'm not saying that education prevents dementia or Alzheimer's, but what I do have to tell you is this, and I'm going to read it so that I get it exactly right. A collaborative study was carried out by scientists from Cambridge, Sheffield, Newcastle and Finland. It found that where people with more education showed biological signs of dementia at death, they were less likely to have displayed the symptoms of it while they were alive. Which is amazing, don't you think? So it appears that learning delays the appearance of symptoms of cognitive decline. We can't ignore it. Ladies, we can't ignore it. So when I say if you don't use it, you lose it, I'm not talking about, actually I haven't got one, I've lost it. This muscle I'm talking about, this one, I'm talking about your brain. So what to do about it? It's fun, because learning is enjoyable and fun. So you could take a class. I don't need to sit here and read a list of things you could do. There's lots of classes. One of the things that everyone says is one of the most effective things to do in terms of training your brain is learning a language. So perhaps give that some thought. Or you could start small. You know, it's not about necessarily formal education or going to get a degree. You could start small. Buy a magazine on a subject that you know nothing about. Just do something that's a little bit out of your usual thing. Now, creating new experiences. Go on holiday to a part of the world you haven't been to before. Don't spend all your time lying on the beach in the sun. Perhaps a little bit of your time. But, create new experiences. Learn about a different culture. Again, that doesn't have to be mega. Go to work a different way so that you have to work out a new route, see different things as you go. Try a different food. go to a different restaurant, just do different things that are going to just ignite another pathway in your brain that's going to help to grow your brain. Okay, this is such an enjoyable, interesting, easy thing that we can do that has all these benefits for us, but certainly that if it can help to delay the onset of any kind of symptoms of cognitive decline, then I think we need to be doing it, don't you? Tell me what you think. And if you are doing something at the moment, if you are taking a class of any kind whatsoever, don't know what that was. If you're taking a class of any kind, let me know what you're doing. Give us all some ideas, and I think that would be great. Such an interesting thing, and I will be talking more about it in the second part of this video. There are two parts to it, only two at the moment, with some great tips about how you can increase the effectiveness of your learning and experiences. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you haven't already, just about there you'll see a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up sign, and if you haven't become a subscriber yet, please join us. We'd love to have you with us, and remember to hit the little bell that you'll see so that you're notified of any new videos that comes out. Okay, I hope I'm bright and shiny and happy enough for you today on this lovely spring day, and until next time, remember that on the Happy Stuff and Fluff we are getting happy and growing younger. See you soon. Bye.